Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. We're so excited to be here with the best school, middle school in the area, right? Can I hear it? Yeah. So, my name is Dr. Deanna Nobleza. I'm the Director of Mental Health for the Philadelphia Phillies. So, by a show of hands, can I see who's a Phillies fan out here? Yeah, all right. We've got people put both hands up. I love it. So great. We're wonderful to have so many Phillies fans here. As the Director of Mental Health for the Philadelphia Phillies, you have school counselors out here, right? You have Miss Bethany, I heard. So I'm like a school counselor, but for the team. So I provide counseling to the players and the coaches, the staff, as well as their family members, because it is a long season. We play 162 games in a season, and there's lots of stress, there's lots of pressure, there's lots of travel. So just like they have medical doctors and athletic trainers and physical therapists that travel with them, they also have myself as someone who's a mental health professional that is with them as well to help with the mental side of things and mental health side of things. So one of the things that we do, obviously, as a Phillies team is we've got baseball, but there are also other teams. We have other teams that work in the Phillies organization, including a team that works on community events and making sure that we're spreading awareness about different topics that are important to kids, to youth, to adults. And one of those is called Strike Out The Stigma. And Strike Out The Stigma is a program that we have once a month at the ballpark. And what we do is we raise awareness about mental health and mental health challenges to our fans and those within our community. We also share those programs with our team as well so that they get to see and watch those and listen to them on podcasts afterwards. So we're so happy to bring Strike Out The Stigma to the road and be here with you guys at Radnor Middle School. So thank you so much for having us here today. We have an incredible panel, so why don't we meet them? And if you can help with some rounds of applause as they come out, that would be helpful. So first off, I'd like to introduce my co-host. Please welcome the Director of Student Counseling at Thomas Jefferson University, Dr. Jamie Hagenbaugh. Welcome, Jamie. You'll hear a little bit about Jamie and our history. We've worked together for quite a long time, so very excited for him to be here today. Second, we have another member of our Phillies family. Please welcome 1993 National League champion, Mickey Morandini. I love you guys bringing the vibes. Next, from our friends at Minding Your Mind, please welcome Jordan Burnham. I think we're going to get a real loud round of applause here, because we're going to get right here from Radnor Middle School. Please welcome Ian Roth. Great, see, I told you we had a great panel. So thanks to the panelists for joining us this morning. Thank you all for coming today. Now, before we get started, we're going to have some questions for you all in the audience as well throughout the program, just to test some of your Philadelphia knowledge. So we'll start with this first question. Does anyone know any names of any colleges or universities in the Philadelphia area? Okay, we've got some hands up. Okay, here. Eastern University, okay. Let's hear. Temple University. Go ahead. Drexel, all right. Here. UPenn, right, exactly. Okay, we'll take one more. Yeah. Cabrini, right? And then you there, yeah. Villanova, right here in your backyard, right? Wonderful, right? We have so many colleges in the area. Jamie, much of our work together has been working on the college level. So I wanted to start things off with you today. Can you describe to the students here what your role is at Thomas Jefferson University?
Yeah, my role is I'm the director of the Counseling Center at Thomas Jefferson University. I actually took that position from Deanna when she left to go work for the Phillies. And my role on campus is just being able to provide support to the students at Thomas Jefferson University. I work with a variety of different students. Our population is mostly medical students, OT students, PT students, or physical therapy, occupational therapy, physician's assistants. And our role is just to make sure that the students are supported. If they're having a hard time, whether it be academically or in their life, we want to make sure that our center is available to them to meet whatever need they have, whether it's doing programming similar to this or meeting on an individual level, just to kind of help them get over whatever struggles they might be having at the current time.
Great. Now, part of what we try to do with Strike Out The Stigma program is to make sure that we're having conversations about, mental health, which sometimes, falls behind the shadows or, is a topic that sometimes is more silent. And so, one of the things that I know you and I have done is making sure that we're having these dialogues, having these conversations, and that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm wondering, Jamie, what's the one key message that you try to emphasize with your students at the university that has to do with mental health?
I think one of the things that I try and stress to the students that I talk to is that one event doesn't mean who you are, right? So if you fail a test, that doesn't mean you're a failure. It means you failed the test. If you lost at something, it doesn't make you a loser. It means you lost at something, that's it. But making sure that as an individual, we're not taking one event and allowing that to define who we are as an individual. And then when we have an event, we fail or we struggle, what can we learn from it, right? Not allowing ourselves to lay down on the ground, picking ourselves up and being like, who can I connect to? Who can I talk to that's gonna help me get through this difficult moment, this difficult day, this difficult week, right? Because the more that we suffer in silence and are by ourselves, the bigger the thing gets. So not allowing ourselves to look at ourselves through a lens of one moment, but being able to see the whole self.
It's a really great point, and it's a thing that we try to emphasize too with the athletes, right? Because obviously, baseball is a difficult sport. I know Mickey will talk about that a little bit more later. But yeah, not taking something that, that we're disappointed in, loss, a failure, as part of an identity, right? We need to be able to shake those off a little bit. Thanks, Jamie. So Mickey, you played in the major leagues for over a decade. Whether it's dreams of becoming a Major League Baseball player or making a difference in the community, can you speak to the importance of having a dream at their age?
Yeah, no question about it. When I was young, I'm from the Pittsburgh area. I was a huge Pirates fan growing up. Now I'm obviously a Phillies fan, but I was really good at athletics. I learned that at a young age, and my goal was to be some type of professional athlete. Actually, my basketball was my #1 sport. That's the one I loved the most. And then it was baseball. But I knew if I had a future as I got older, baseball was going to be it. And I think setting goals and dreams is what motivates you. And for me, I think when you're setting goals, you have to learn how to make them attainable. And what I mean by that is, for me, to attain a goal of leading the league in home runs, I hit 32 big league home runs. Kyle Schwarber hits 32 home runs in a couple of months. I knew I wasn't going to lead the league in home runs, so I'm not going to make that a goal of mine. So I did have some goals growing up. In 7th and 8th grade, I wanted to make, or in 9th grade, I wanted to make the varsity baseball and basketball team. That was my goal. And I was able to accomplish that. In high school, I wanted to get a scholarship to college, whether it be academic scholarship or a sports scholarship. I was able to get a baseball scholarship to college, so I accomplished that. Then I got to the big leagues, and I had 3 goals. I wanted to hit 300 one year, I wanted to win a gold glove sometime in my career, and I wanted to make an all-star team. 2 of them I didn't quite accomplish. I didn't hit 300. I did hit 298, 296, and 294. And that was all right with me because I knew I gave my best effort. I did everything I could possible to try and hit 300. I just came up a little short. Winning a gold glove, that was a big one of mine because I took a lot of pride in defense. Didn't win a gold glove, but I finished top 3 at second base 4 years. So I knew once again, I gave my all. Just the The cards didn't play out for me, but I knew I gave my best effort again. The all-star thing I accomplished. I made an all-star team in 1995. So I think it's very important to dream, very important to set goals, and that should be what motivates you to be successful.
Thank you so much, Mickey. Yeah, it's important to set intentions, right? So, I encourage people to daydream even, just to, we have so much of our time gets scheduled, I'm sure, in your life with homework and sports and things like that. But always make some time to daydream a little bit and imagine where you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Ian, as a teacher here, what would you say is the first step that students should take if they experience challenges with their mental health?
Yeah, for sure. I think the main thing that we want all of you students to know is that you should first reach out to someone who you trust. We strive here at Radnor Middle School to create a community where we hope and aspire that you have a trusted adult in this building. But maybe it's a trusted peer first. And if you are a trusted peer, taking the next steps and initiatives to reach out to a trusted adult who can then step in and intervene in a professional way. We have such an amazing counseling staff here at Radnor Middle School who can help support if you are struggling with mental health. And just by being a supportive friend and going to that adult and saying, you know what, I've got a friend here who's going through a tough time. Can you help and step in? It's really important that you take that step because you never know what someone is going through and the extent of what they're going through. And we are a community that cares about one another. So just by taking that step and going, I notice something's off. We also have other avenues as well. We have our Safe to Say program. If you feel like you need to do that anonymously, right, to intervene for a peer, and you don't feel comfortable necessarily reaching out to an adult, we have our Safe to Say program where you can anonymously, bring that to someone's attention.
Thank you so much. Jamie, I'll take this. You can take this now for our next question.
Jordan, when you kind of look back on your time in middle school and high school, which hopefully you remember fondly, not all of us have that great middle school experience, but were there any challenges that you faced or warning signs that maybe you ignored that you might want to take a minute to talk to these students about so they can get help if they're experiencing some of these things? Or, to Ian's point, if they have a friend that they can report or talk about some of those experiences, warning signs?
Yeah, so for me, the time that I struggled the most was 7th grade. Two major things happened. The first was that my sister went off to college, and I was happy for her, I'm proud of her. She got an academic scholarship to go to Penn State University, but that was also my best friend leaving. So I didn't know who to talk to about how I was feeling, what I was struggling with. 7th grade, my family had to move from Pittsburgh outside of Philadelphia because my dad took the athletic director job at Upper Merion High School. And when I got to middle school and I got to this new school, I was hoping everyone would be friendly, I would fit in, and everything would be great, but that's just not what happened. And so it was hard for me because I didn't know where to fit in. There were times where I was picked on, where I was struggling. I was made fun of for the way that I talked or the way that I dressed. I got beat up by this one kid whose name I won't say because that would be petty and unprofessional, Stacey Evans. So when I got back home, I didn't have my sister to talk to about what I was going through. And so for me, I'm gonna break this down into 3 things: what it feels like, what it can sound like, what it can look like. So for me, there were moments and times where what it felt like is that I was alone. It felt like I didn't belong. It felt like no one would understand me, and I didn't have much hope. What that would look like, there were times where I just couldn't get out of bed. I struggled with my appetite or with my sleeping, would be really inconsistent. There were nights where I could not fall asleep whatsoever, and just days where I wanted to sleep all day. because I couldn't get my mind to just stop going with anxious or depressed thoughts. And the way that it would sound to me was, what would life be like for other people if I wasn't here? What would life be like for people, my family, my friends? Would they be happier without me here? And that's what it felt like, what it sounded like, what it looked like when I was struggling. And when I got to high school, what it looked like was a little differently. It went from struggling with not only class to now I was drinking to suppress my feelings or my emotions, or to open up about them. There were moments and times where I just didn't go to school, not because I didn't want to, because mentally I could not show up. Physically I could be there, but emotionally I could not do it. And the one thing looking back that I wish I did is that I talked to the school counselor. Because I thought you only talked to the school counselor if your parents were going through a divorce, if there was a loss in the family, if something really traumatic was happening. What I didn't know was that I could go to my school counselor and say, hey, it's a bad week, can we please talk? I'm having a bad day, do you mind if I vent to you? Or going into my counselor's office and saying, hey, can I tell you about the basketball game? Just so I can have that conversation with her, feel comfortable in doing that, and that would have been helpful in terms of me opening up about my mental health. So for me, that's how it looked, how it sounded like, how it felt like, and what I wish I would have done to feel better.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Jordan. I appreciate it. Now I have a question for the crowd. I know it's Phillies Day today. I know I'm up on the stage with two Phillies. But I have a question. Who in here is an Eagles fan? Like 6 or 7 of you guys? Nobody's gonna bite on that? All right. Well, Dina's been able to do this panel for a variety of different times, and they've had a lot of great guests. And actually one of the guests that they had was former Philadelphia Eagle and Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins. And one of the things that Brian really highlighted during his talk was how important it is to find like your people, your core group of people, and be able to rely on them. He mentioned like it's good to be nice to people, you always want to be friendly to people, but it's really vital in finding people you can trust and people you can go to. And that can be your peers, that can be your family members, your sister, as was mentioned, or it could be people on the faculty here. But you want to be able to lean on them. So Dina, could you speak to the importance of like finding your people, finding your core, and what that means?
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, you know, one of the questions that I often ask our players is who's in your inner circle, you know, because it's really important to identify who those people are. And like Jamie said, like Jordan said, you know, they can be family, they can be friends, they can be other people in your life, but you want to have the people that you know that you can trust, that you can share and connect things with, that especially when you're not feeling well. Because when you're not feeling well, and I see this at times in players when they're feeling burnt out, like I said, it's a long season, that, you know, times can get rough. And when you're feeling not well, it's pretty easy, I think, to isolate, to go inward, to get really sometimes into your own head. And having those inner circle people, you know that they're so close to you that those barriers to reach out are lower. And so, you know, one of the things we know is that one of the essential elements of well-being is relationships. And it's not at all about the quantity. It's not about having a lot, you know, a lot of people in your inner circle. It really is about the quality of the relationship. You know, what they are and who they are meaning to you in terms of so meaningful, so close, people you love, people that you care about, and they care about you, and that it's reciprocal and it's not one way. So think about it in that way. Another way that I thought about this question, Jamie, and I thought it was interesting, you know, TJ, where's TJ? Wow, I know he likes to hide, but he is, there he is, he is hiding all the way up there. Say hi, TJ. So TJ is responsible for all of our Strike Out The Stigma programs. And so he's wonderful and such a gem. But I wondered, TJ, about how you gave this question to Jamie. And I don't know that you know this, but perhaps you do. But Jamie and I have known each other for more than 10 years. And he and I work together, as he told you, but Jamie is one of my inner circle friends. And during COVID, I was his boss. But during COVID, my father passed away of COVID. And at that time, I was devastated. And I was definitely a person that always worked all the time, and that was something that was top of my list in addition with my family. But Jamie was there in a way that I, can't even thank him enough for, and allowed me to step away from work so that I could focus on grieving with my family at that time. So, I'm also feeling full of joy here that you can see what an inner circle friendship can look like. I invite Jamie to do this kind of program, with me because of how meaningful he has been in my own personal life. So that's the importance of inner circle friendship. This next question, Jordan, is for you. So Jordan, from your experience in facing mental health challenges, how important is it for these students here today to know that in facing their own challenges, they're never alone and there's always hope?
Yeah, I think whenever you might be struggling, I think sometimes it's hard to feel or see hope in that moment in time. What I would say is that if I gave all of you a 2-pound dumbbell and you just held it out like this, for the first 2-3 minutes you'd be fine. You'd be still, everything would be good, and there'd be nothing to worry about. About 7-8 minutes would go by, and you start to shake just a little bit. Not a lot, but just a little, to the point where maybe the people closest to you could see it. Right? And then a little over 10 minutes go by, you're still holding on to this 2-pound weight, and all of a sudden you're starting to shake. And you might think to yourself, well, I can't put this down, it's only 2 pounds. It's not that heavy, I can hold this all day. But the reality is that sometimes we hold on to things that are incredibly heavy, that might not seem like it in the moment, but can become heavier over time. And some of that shaking that I just mentioned, maybe that's the things that I talked about earlier that are some of the warning signs that you might be going through if you are struggling. It's the inconsistency in sleep and appetite. It might be hard to get through the class, get through the day without falling asleep. Sometimes that's what that shaking can represent. But what's so important for everyone to know is that you don't have to hold it on your own. You don't have to do this alone. And that things that once felt really light can really be hard to hold on to by yourself. And that's why it is important to have that hope and to know that there are people that are there to support you in every single way. There's a video of a quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. This quarterback, I think you've probably heard of him, Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts is squatting 600 pounds. 600 pounds, and it's incredible to see him holding that much weight. The moment in time where his teammates and coaches start cheering is not when he's holding the weight, it's when he puts it down. Because that's where the strength is. That's where the hope is knowing that you don't have to hold on to something alone. And by asking for help, by not holding that on your own, to me, that's where strength, bravery comes into play. And hopefully that hope can live there too.
I love that, yeah. Yeah, bravery, courageousness, connection, right? Wonderful. So a question for the crowd. Does anybody know what major event is coming to Citizens Bank Park in July? Ooh, a hand immediately up over there. That's right, our All-Star game, great. Is anybody gonna be going to that game or wanna go to that game? Yeah. So speaking of the All-Star game, Mickey, you were an All-Star for the National League in 1995. And that's no small feat, given that baseball is often described as a game of failure. We all know that success doesn't happen overnight. So what advice do you have for coping with failure, and how not to get too low or discouraged when failure happens?
Yeah, failure, that's one of the biggest, things that's going to happen to you in your life is failure. And as a baseball player, you're going to fail a lot. You get 3 out of 10 hits. That means you made 7 outs out of 10 at bats, and you're considered most times a Hall of Fame baseball player. Now, if you make 3 out of 10 shots in basketball, probably not very good. You're probably not going to play for a long time. Same thing as a quarterback. If you complete 3 out of 10 passes, you're probably not going to be a quarterback for very long. But in baseball, that's accepted because the game is so hard. I got a quote from the great Michael Jordan. Everybody know who Michael Jordan is? One of the greatest basketball players of all time, right? He said, I missed more than 9,000 shots. 9,000. He said, I lost almost 300 games. He said, 26 times I was asked to take the winning shot and missed it. He said, I have failed over and over and over again. And then he says, that is why I succeed. And what he means by that is he took all those failures and he learned from them. He learned of why he missed 9,000 shots, why they lost 300 games, why the 26 game-winning shots he missed. He didn't mope, he didn't pout, he didn't say, why me? He figured out why he failed at those things, and then he became the greatest basketball player probably of all time. And you have to figure out why you failed. So I'm going to give you a baseball analogy because that's what I played. So if I strike out 3 times in a game, I'm not going to mope, I'm not going to pop, I'm going to be disappointed, but I'm going to go and look at the video and see why I struck out 3 times. Was I swinging at bad pitches? Was I late on the fastball? Was I doing something mechanically wrong in my swing? And then I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to fix that failure. I also think it's very important, what motivates you guys? What's your motivation for being successful? I had 3 things that motivated me, and one was fear of failure, especially here in Philadelphia. You fail here in Philadelphia, you're going to hear it, and that's okay, because the fans expect a lot from their athletes here. But I did not want to fail, so I did everything I could. I worked as hard as I could to try not to fail. Did I fail? Absolutely. Winning. I wanted to win, and I still do today, no matter what sport I played. Back in high school, it was basketball and baseball. Today, it's golf, and I hate to say it, but pickleball. But I go out to win. I do everything I can to win. And as a baseball player, if I needed to bunt, if I needed to move a runner, if I needed to make a dive and play, those are the things I would do to help my team win. And the last thing that motivated me was when someone told me I couldn't do something. And I think that's a big one. That really motivated me when someone said I couldn't do something. And when I played in the Olympics in 1988, and the Olympic coach told me, or he told a reporter, we actually came here to play in Philadelphia, and the reporters, after I got drafted by the Phillies, was talking to the coach, and he told the reporter, he said, yeah, Morandini's a pretty good baseball player. He'll probably make the big leagues, but I don't think he'll be an everyday player. And I read that the next day, and man, did that motivate me. And I ended up playing every day for 9 years in the big leagues. Probably, mainly because of what he said I couldn't do. So figure out what motivates you and challenge yourself and accept failure. You don't have to like it. We don't like failure. We don't like to lose. We don't like to, as they said, fail a test or things like that. Accept it and figure out why you failed and move on.
Thank you, Mickey. So building off that question, Ian, from your work with students, how important is overcoming failure in the classroom, on the road to success?
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels to what you just said, Mickey, to what can be transferred to the classroom. Here at Radnor Middle School, one of the first things that you heard as 6th graders was the importance of understanding what fail means, right? As an acronym. First attempt in learning, right? Fail is a first attempt in learning. And here in the school setting, right, you have to become comfortable with accepting that not everything you're going to get in the first crack, right? You have to learn to accept that, learning is a process, that you are here to grow, that you are here to get better every day. And you might not fully understand something the first time that you try to learn it. Maybe you didn't give your best effort the first time. Maybe you didn't approach a test or a unit the way that you should have in terms of how you prepare, how you use your time in class, how you study beforehand, right? It's really important to look yourself in the mirror, just like Mickey was saying, right? Mickey was talking about how he would go back and look at his swing. So in the classroom, right? If you don't do well on a test or a project or something like that, you're gonna go back and you're gonna have to self-assess. Well, what did I do to get here, right? Why did I earn the grade that I earned, right? Why did I, perform the way that I performed? In some cases, it's just you had a bad day, right? In some cases, it's, well, maybe I need to fix this about my preparation, this about how I, use my class time, this about how I use my time outside of school or organize my time. Here at the middle school, especially, it's important to realize that it's okay to fail. It's okay not to get something the first time. You're here to grow, right? The adults in this room, we fail all the time as well. We have to make adjustments to things that we do. And it's really important to just know how to go about making those corrections. One thing I tell my students all the time that I think is we sometimes forget in this day and age of tests and scores and all that, you can fail your driver's test a couple times. Doesn't mean you won't be able to drive, right? You might not get something the first time, right? There are multiple opportunities to grow and improve and master what you're learning.
Right. A lot of messages here about resilience today, which is wonderful. So you've heard a lot of questions to our panelists. We're going to open it up for a question from the audience. Does anybody have a question that they have for our panelists or panelists? So you can raise your hand.
Yes. What was that highlight about your career?
I think, well, there was several. One was making the big leagues. Obviously, my first big league at bat. Playing in a World Series as a team. And then for me, I turned an unassisted triple play in 1992. And it's a very rare feat. Only 15 players have ever done it in the big leagues. I was the 9th player to ever do it. So I think those 3 things are some things I look back on. And obviously making the Olympic team. Sometimes when you set goals, you end up doing things that you never even dreamed of doing. I never dreamed of being a gold medalist in the Olympics, never. And then all of a sudden I get invited to a tryout, and the next thing I know, I've got a gold medal in my house. So I think those 4 things are probably the biggest things in my career.
Great question. Jamie, this next question is for you. So can you, in Strike Out the Stigma, obviously we want to remove stigma about speaking about mental health challenges. And we've talked a little bit about bravery and courageousness and seeking help. Can you describe to our students why we see speaking up about mental health as courageous?
Yeah, thank you for that. I think because life is hard. Life is hard and life is beautiful at the same time. And when we look to our social media, we only get to see the glossy version of everything, right? You don't really get to see the inner workings of an individual's life. You just get to see all the good stuff. So then there's a piece of it. It's like, well, this person's got all this great stuff going on. What's wrong? What's up with me? What's making me feel like I can't get out of bed on a daily basis? And just the courage to get up and say, hey, I need a hand. And whether it's saying it to your friend or saying it to one of your teachers, a counselor, parent, whatever it may be, right? That takes a lot of courage to be able to do because of the fear of you might get judged, right? Someone might say oh, what's wrong with you? Or judged in a negative light. And that's a scary thing because we don't want to look less than from time to time, right? We don't want people to think that we can't manage our life, that things are too difficult. We don't want people to think we're crazy or anything like that, right? So being able to say, hey, I need a little bit of help, that's all it means. And I often think about when I talk with students that there are times in your life where your situational stressors, a moment in your life, is overwhelming your coping mechanisms. And all you need in that moment is to find someone you can connect with and help them either develop your coping mechanisms or utilize the ones that you already have. But that takes courage to take that first step and say, hey, I need a little bit of help.
Thank you. So we're rounding out our time now. So before we let everyone depart, we want to ask one final question to this panel to sum everything up that we've talked about this morning. And this can also double as a call to action. So the question is, how can we as a community spread awareness of the importance of mental health? And what we'll do is we'll just go down the line. So Jamie, Ian, Mickey, and then Joe.
I didn't know I was getting a back-to-back. Okay. I think that the most important thing as a community is when someone makes that first step and says, hey, I need help, is making sure that you're available to listen to them and encourage them and point them in the right directions. And it might be you, or it might be finding someone else here in this environment. Like, take a look around. Like, look who's here today. I know they're mostly here for Mickey, but like, look around. Like, these people are excited to have this and to have a conversation. They wanted to bring this program to you specifically to say like, hey, it's okay that we talk about this stuff here. And as a community being receptive to it, because they're opening the door, making sure that one, you walk through and that the person on the other side is ready to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I think the thing that I want to leave you all with is how beneficial talking with another individual, especially someone who's a professional, can be. We have a fantastic counseling staff here. Me personally, I've benefited and continue to benefit from talking to a professional therapist about things going on in my life. So just being able to have that conversation with someone, just to unpack the complexities of your life, right? What you had talked about with the comparison factor of only seeing one side of what people are dealing with, and often that side is the flashy social media side, right? That's something I've dealt with, personally myself, comparing myself to what I see around me, when really, when you think about it, right, we're all in some way, shape, or form dealing with positive and negative factors of life. And being able to talk with someone about that, I cannot stress how beneficial that is. So if that's something you haven't taken advantage of yet, I really encourage you, even if it's just, hey, Ms. Dean, I just want to talk and, connect. I think this is something that I've never tried out before. I've never really, I've only had a couple conversations with you, but I just want to, have a conversation. If it starts there, if it's a professional outside of our Radnor Middle School community, I can't stress enough the importance of, considering talking to someone who, has that professional background.
Yeah, I mean, so I think, I thought that was my mic. You got to be careful on social media, everybody. You really do. And it can be a great tool for learning, but it also can be a real detriment to you. Follow the people you trust. Follow the people you believe in. Follow the things that you're interested in. And if you find out you're letting people into your Instagrams or your TikToks that are detrimental to you, get rid of them. Or get rid of social media completely. I'm not on social media. I used to be, and it got to be too much for me. It was just too much. Me scrolling for 2 hours on Instagram or watching TikTok for 2 hours, for me was not healthy. So I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on TikTok. I don't follow anybody on social media. But lean on each other. When I was young, my father passed away when I was 4, so my mom pretty much raised me. She was all into my sports, but she wasn't someone that I could talk to about other stuff outside of sports. So maybe your parents aren't the ones you go to. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Maybe your teachers are the ones you go to. Maybe your coaches are the ones you go to. Or maybe just your friends. But find someone that you can talk to. Now there were 2 athletes, 2 big-time athletes. One was in tennis, and she stepped away for a long time because she was just not in a good mental state. And then the one was the gymnast that wins all the... Simone Biles, yeah. She stepped away from gymnastics because she just wasn't in a real good mental state. So I think that was really good to see from young kids that, hey, Simone Biles has won all these gold medals and she's such a super athlete, but yet she was not in a good mental state of health at some part in her life. So we all go through it, and you know, as long as you have someone to talk to, and there are a lot of people out there to talk to. There's commercials now about mental health. When I was playing, mental health wasn't talked about back in the day. We really didn't even know the term mental health. So it's come a long, long way, and with your help, we will continue to, you know, deal with these issues and hopefully get better and better at them.
The thing that I'll say three things. The first is that you can't choose the bad things that happen to you in your life, but you can choose how you cope with them. You can choose who you talk to about them. Maybe that is a trusted adult, maybe that's the school counselor, maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a friend. And so I always want to give that reminder to people. The second one is that as a friend, there might be a friend who shares something with you. And like I mentioned earlier, sometimes you get to hear some heavy things, and that could be from a friend. And sometimes what happens is someone will share and they'll say, well, let's keep it a secret and don't tell anyone. But I always want to encourage anyone that when a friend opens up to you and shares what they do, not to keep it a secret. Even if your friend might be upset with you, it's better to lose a friendship than a friend. So I always encourage everyone who might be there for a friend to be able to share with a trusted adult. And the third thing I just want to mention and end on is hope, because we use that word today. And I want to define hope in my mind for all of you. When I think of hope, I picture being in a dark room, and there's no light, there's no one on the outside, you have no idea if you'll get out. Hope, to me, is not the door opening, because that's the answer, that's the solution. Hope, to me, is a little crack in the door that allows for a little beam of light to shine through. Just to know that there is something out there, there is something to hold on to. And so for all of you today, if any of you are struggling at a place or in a dark place that we mentioned before, depressed, feeling sad, going through something like self-harm, maybe going through something like having suicidal thoughts. What I hope today is that us being up here, us having that conversation, could allow that little beam of light to shine through for all of you to hold on to for today. So more than anything, I just want to tell everyone to hold on, and then I appreciate you for listening to all of us.